Joining us now is Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior. Mr. Secretary, great to see you, and thank you so much for coming on. How crucial are these talks?
Well, Sean, these talks are important because critical minerals are important to every American. Anyone who's watching your show right now is watching on a television that is built with and includes critical or rare earth minerals. Same with their cell phone, same with the car they drive, same with the refrigerator in their house. I mean, this is essential to the modern economy just for consumers, but it's also critical for all of our defense and defense technology. And as you noted, China has got a stranglehold. They can control anywhere between 85 to 100% of the top 20 critical minerals. This is a threat not just to the U.S., but to the whole world. And that's why, again, convening with a number of cabinet secretaries, Vice President Vance, Marco Rubio, Howard Lutnick, Chris Wright, myself, across the whole of government, saying that all of these countries, let's come together. We need to build a club of nations to be able to trade freely amongst each other and make sure that we've got a secure supply chain for the critical minerals that we need for our manufacturers, our manufacturing workers, and for the citizens of America.
Sure, dozens of representatives agreeing on that. And you set me up for this when Vice President J.D. Vance spoke this morning, delivered remarks. This is what he had to say about U.S. alliances when it comes to critical minerals. Watch this.
This is something where our alliances and our friendships can really help one another. We're all on the same team. We're all rowing in the same direction. I believe that in this room, we have close to 2/3 of the world's GDP represented. And so we have the capacity to make ourselves more independent, more self-reliant, and that's what we should be doing.
Can you expand on that?
Well, we know how it happened in the U.S. where we had, decades of folks that were like, hey, we can save the planet environmentally if we stop, we don't cut a tree, we don't graze a cow, we don't do oil and gas development in America, and we definitely don't do any mining in America, that somehow getting reliances on other countries like China, who then go exploit the world with whether it's with child labor or with no reclamation practices, that somehow becoming dependent on them was going to drive policy that was positive for the U.S. But it was a win for China. It was a huge loss for America, American consumers, American manufacturers. We have to get back to be able to build great things in America. President Trump says, he says, drill, baby, drill, famously. We also need to mine, baby, mine. We've got to do the mining and the refining of these minerals here. We have to have secure supply chains. We can't be dependent on our adversaries for the minerals we need for nuclear energy, for the modern economy, for technology, for missile defense. We just can't. I mean, it's absolutely essential. So JD is absolutely right. And then when China threatened those export controls, they threatened them on everybody. That created the opportunity for us to be the leader under President Trump to bring together all these nations to say, let's work together to develop our own secure supply chain so that no one in this room is reliant on China. There's a lot of momentum. President Trump, again, innovative new approaches. On Monday, we announced in the Oval Office the first ever United States Strategic Critical Minerals Reserve, similar to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve.
Well, let me jump in really quickly, Mr. Secretary, because you actually are touching on, we have that, the president launching the strategic stockpile of critical minerals. It's called Project Vault for our viewers. Here's that moment.
For years, American businesses have risked running out of critical minerals during market disruptions. Today, we're launching what will be known as Project Vault to ensure that American businesses and workers are never harmed by any shortage. We don't want to ever go through what we went through a year ago. Just as although it did work out, thank you. Just as we have long had a strategic petroleum reserve and a stockpile of critical minerals for national defense, we're now creating this reserve for American industry.
Can you speak to that, the importance of it, how crucial it is for the president to be able to launch this initiative?
Well, absolutely essential, again, because some of these rare earth minerals are not rare because they're not occur everywhere. They're rare because of small, parts per million. But China had cornered the market. So you take a device like a magnet in your car that controls your seatbelt. China was controlling like 100% of those for the whole world. So there was earlier this last year, we were within 2 weeks of almost every auto plant in the world shutting down because China said, hey, we're going to put on export controls. Those export controls were really what I viewed as the largest intelligence gathering effort ever because, hey, we will ship you these materials, but you've got to tell us, are you using them for commercial, for defense, or how many quantity, where are they going, how many do you need in the future? Completely unacceptable. These are things that a public company wouldn't share with their own analyst or their competitors, much less with the CCP. So President Trump, through negotiation, through his fast action to get Australia, Japan, Korea, Saudi Arabia to sign on to critical minerals agreements, like the discussions we're having in Washington, D.C. today. We expect 11 more countries to sign deals like that with the U.S. shortly, many more in the pipeline. But this is going to, again, create a club of nations who want to trade freely with each other for the same purposes, just like J.D. said. Yeah. We're all in the same team. We're all rowing in the same direction. All countries need to be able to have a secure supply for defense, for consumers, for the future, and for just running the economy today, because these minerals are in everything.
Yep, furthering independence. It makes sense. We'll continue to follow both initiatives, these projects as well. Before I let you go, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you something on pop culture that actually might impact the interior. I don't know if you caught the Grammys or not. It didn't rate very well, but at the Grammys, they put out these protests of ICE out. And at one point, pop star Billie Eilish got up on stage. She's coming under fire after her stolen land rant at the Grammys, saying no one is illegal on stolen land. So she made these comments, but it didn't end there. Get this, her $3 million mansion sits on ancestral land belonging to the Tongva tribe, which inhabits the greater Los Angeles basin. The tribe took it further, releasing a statement saying, as the first people of the greater Los Angeles basin, we do understand that her home is situated in our ancestral land. Eilish has not contacted our tribe directly regarding her property. As the Secretary of Interior, how do you view this entire situation, even from the tribe's point of view today?
Well, Sean, I didn't spend time watching the Grammys, had other things going on, but I had heard the story. We have a serious responsibility at the Department of Interior, and that serious responsibility is managing the national trust, the trust responsibilities that America has with over 450 federally recognized tribes. We take that very seriously, and across those tribes, we have got some incredible tribes and tribe leaders. I know many of them. Many of them are absolutely positively on board with an agenda that says, hey, they want to have self-determination. They want to have freedom. They want to have their sovereignty. They want to be able to develop their natural resources the same way any state would. When I was governor of North Dakota, we had 5 tribes with which we shared geography. We had fantastic relationships with them, but none of them thought that they knew 2 things. They were members of their tribe, but they're also citizens of the United States, and they were also residents and citizens of North Dakota. The vast majority understand that the rules of America apply to them. And again, the one thing I would have to say about my great regard for the tribes is, tribal members in the United States, they volunteer for military service at a higher rate than anyone else in the country. Our tribal communities are filled with U.S. veterans that have fought for American freedoms. They understand America. I'm sure that many of them were completely confused by her remarks. And again, we're just going to continue to try to create economic opportunity and great education, all the things that we're prescribed to do here as part of the Department of Interior with the tribal nations with whom we share geography, and lots of positive stories going on there. But I think it's I'm smiling that the tribe contacted her, that she hadn't reached out to.
I am too, Mr. Secretary. I thought it would be a one-off, and then the tribe actually spoke up and released a statement on this. And I said, I've got to ask Doug about that. I appreciate you taking the time with me today. That is Secretary Doug Burgum joining me live of the Interior. Thank you so much.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.